Milo, good morning, sir.
Well, thank you so much for having me. What an exciting couple of days it's been.
It has been fantastic. The top right story of Breitbart.com is an excerpt from your interview with Tucker Carlson yesterday. It was fascinating stuff. And the thing that you showed yesterday is not just that you're funny and irreverent and edgy and you tapped into something in the culture. That's true. That stuff, that is all true. That's more obvious. But you really had some great one-liners and you were able to unleash some analysis that I think is really the problem for the left with you as such a big cultural sensation right now is the intellectual heft behind a lot of your arguments. You're just a very thoughtful guy.
Well, thank you. That's kind of you. One of the things I think that will surprise people, for instance, about my book, which again this morning I noticed is shot to #1 on the Amazon bestseller list.
On my list, but if you want to get there now, we can. Milo's book, Dangerous. You can get it now. It's amazing. So we took who had 2 minutes and 40 seconds for the first plug.
No. You see, because you mentioned Anne, and she's so good at this because she's been doing it so long.
Yes.
I do have a game when I'm on with her because she's such a pro at it now. It's shot to Beating Orwell, shot to number one again. And what I said to Tucker last night on a segment that I think was everyone agreed was the best thing they'd seen on Fox in ages, which I was very gratified by. It's going to be a very substantial book. It's going to be a very serious book. It's going to be a book that shows great reading and great learning and great thoughtfulness. And if you're coming to it just looking for the pyrotechnics, just looking for the mischief and irreverence, then you might be disappointed because it's actually quite a serious and quite a thoughtful and learned book. Actually, it's very good. So I think I tried to show a little bit of that off on Fox last night.
I won't tell people whether or not I have an advanced copy because then I know someone will try to steal my laptop.
You don't.
In fact, I'm just going to tell people we don't. Also, we have your chief of security, Tage Gill, former Naval SEAL, in here. We'll talk to Tage also about some of the chaos momentarily. But I do want to start there before we get into some of the bigger picture stuff. Is what happened at UC Berkeley. As you know, I'm a UC Berkeley graduate. I graduated, I guess it was 2008 from there, so 9 years ago. And my mother, a Breitbart News copy editor, Wynn, was a flower child, graduated from Berkeley in 1969. And she actually has a piece on the front page of Breitbart News. She's a copy editor for us, but she wrote a nice op-ed, and it's about the fact that she really thinks that free speech was never really a thing there, that there was always there was something disingenuous about the free speech movement in general. And when people claim the mantle of free speech, it is so often about an agenda. It's not really about freedom of speech, Milo. And this is where I feel like you and I have connected. That you and I really are free speech purists. And it's one of the things where I am a total evangelist. And people on the show know this. It's one of the places where I fight the hardest. And you're the person fighting the hardest in America for it. How amazing is it that a British gay conservative is the standard bearer of the free speech movement in the United States of America at this point?
I suppose it is slightly unusual, but then America has a long history of having to import Europeans to remind you of how great you are and to encourage you to stay that way, whether it's Christopher Hitchens or Alexis de Tocqueville. I suppose Milo Yiannopoulos is merely the latest name added to that list. So I find it somewhat remarkable. On the question of whether, people who always yell about free speech are doing so for a political agenda, you know what? Actually, up until about 10 years ago, that might have been true, even on the right, even on the libertarian right. It might have been true up until about 10 years ago that the free speech was sort of a mask for being able to be mean about people, or sort of a mask for being able to be what do you Americans say, an asshole? Sort of a mark for. See, if I say it in a British accent,
family radio.
Am I allowed to say this? If I say it in a British accent, I say anything anytime of day.
I don't want to play the technicality game with you. No, but continue with your point. This is an important point.
No, I mean, it was possibly almost true of conservatives that they were using it as a cover to be mean or vindictive or spiteful about people up until about a decade ago. And now it isn't. Now it really is the case that, since the 90s, when it was the religious right, clamping down on freedom of expression with, I have to say, equally spurious, claims that the progressive left today has. It was violence then, it's sexism and racism now. Things have changed. Things have changed, and we're now in a situation where I think if you want to be a free speech warrior, you have no option but to stand in opposition to the regressive left, to the forces of social justice and feminism and Black Lives Matter, and they all come from one end of the political spectrum. And if you do, as you and I both do, really believe in freedom of expression and creativity and fun and joy and mischief and dissidence and irreverence and all those other wonderful things that make life worth living, I don't think you have any choice but to be a Republican.
Yeah, and this is exactly right, and this is why I really just want a fair fight, and I have a deep sense of fairness and justice, and this is the exact opposite of how Breitbart's characterized, but I'm mostly animated by fairness and justice. And I think if there is a fair fight, a fair open debate, left versus right, I think the right will win every time. The problem is the left has captive audiences with the entertainment media, with the mainstream with the journalism world, the press, but in particular, what you've identified is the place where leftism runs rampant the most at this point in time are the campuses. And you've revealed something very powerful, and you didn't even have to say one word at UC Berkeley.
No, I mean, I did want to take the stage. We always prefer to do these shows.
And you had a headdress, a Native American headdress?
I saw Tucker last night. I was so mad. I mean, okay, I care about the free speech stuff, but I was really most mad last night because I had a beautiful custom Native American headdress with my name embroidered on it. It was massive and beautiful, lovely. It was I had a coyote skin bow and arrow, like what do you call it, a sheath or something? Anyway, whatever that is, I was going to look amazing. I was so excited about it. But yeah, no, I didn't have to step on stage. I didn't even have to step on stage to make my point. And those are the moments in culture where something shifts dramatically, when people don't even need to speak and the whole country hears them. Exactly.
And there's no good response from the left. Virtually, the best one would probably be if they defend you and say, okay, this has gone too far. Very few.
It hasn't been a response at all.
Yes, there's been none, because a lot of them actually do believe in this stuff. They believe there's actually a group on the Berkeley campus that is pretty popular called By Any Means Necessary. It is a left-wing advocacy group that by any means, they apparently mean smashing ATMs, setting fires, smashing school buildings, stopping people from going to class, stopping people from getting home from work, just essential terrorism.
And let me add to that list, by the way, because it isn't just about smashing up property. I mean, I think all of us have limited sympathy for Bank of America and Wells Fargo at this point. But people were being attacked.
True.
People were being assaulted. There were people there who weren't even Trump fans, who were just there because they'd heard about me and wondered what I might have to say, queuing in line to get in, who were assaulted, who had blood streaming down their faces, who were beaten to a pulp. I mean, there were people who were kicked and punched and beaten in the streets. This isn't just about, your typical, let's destroy property, let's loot, let's break up cash machines, let's put in the windows of Starbucks. They don't see the irony of there, and Bank of America. This was people being brutally, physically assaulted. That's way worse. That's way worse. And that's a sign of and the fact that the left cannot disavow it, cannot condemn it, and they won't. They refuse, and in fact, even make excuses for it, as CNN is doing, tells you something very, very clear about the left's commitment to free expression, the left's commitment also to the truth and to fairness, and the whole of America can see it.
You guys know that voice. It's Milo Yiannopoulos from Breitbart. He's a senior editor for us. He runs our tech bureau. He's taking the campuses on almost single-handedly. Well, Breitbart chips in a little bit, but Milo, a one-man wrecking crew on the campuses right now, exposing the leftism for what it is. He's got a new book, Dangerous. It's going to be out soon, #1 on Amazon right now, and there's no evidence it even exists at the moment. It could just be a photo of you, a hardcover photo of you.
That would be enough.
Just that would be
pages. Enough. It
would still go to #1.
It would still go to #1, even if I told people that was it. I could say, here is an empty book with a picture of my face on the cover. Buy it. Yeah. It would still be #1, and I'll tell you why. The fact is, the book is going to be fantastic. It's going to be detailed and interesting, and all the rest of it. But people are so desperate to hear an alternative point of view and so sick and so tired of ordinary, reasonable, respectable, mainstream conservative opinion being branded hateful, being branded racist, being branded sexist. They know there's something wrong when everybody's telling them sexist and they know they're not, when everyone's telling them that they're racist and they know they're not, but they don't always know how to articulate it.
Yes.
They don't always know how to express this feeling that they're being lied to and lied about. Well, this book is going to do that. So it's going to be even better, dare I say it, I hate to admit, even better than a book of selfies or just merely a book with my cover on it would be.
I don't know, Milo. See, I said to Milo yesterday after his appearance on Tucker on Fox, I said the most important thing was he looked his best. And that was the points are secondary. The points are secondary. You gotta look at. Also, Milo looks incredible today.
I'm in Givenchy. Thank you, darling.
He is dressing up for radio. I won't say it's a waste because you got to dress for success. But it is cruel that people don't get to take a look at you right now, Milo. It's cruel.
Well, I appreciate that, and I did turn to one of the producers at Fox last night, and I said, I have the best editor in the world, and they said, oh really? I said, yeah. He just messaged me, and it said, yep, really good. You got some good points off, and you look fantastic.
Yes, that's it. Well, that is true. Well, you can check out a clip at the top of Breitbart right now in magenta, of course. That's how you know the Milo stories. A little running joke Milo and I have. But one of the points that you made, and this is something you were touching on a moment ago, which is that it really was the establishment media who created this climate, claiming that all the people who have something to fear in the Donald Trump administration, in the Donald Trump era of America, are really people on the left, that they are the ones who are being discriminated against. They are the ones who are being threatened. You proved that to be complete and utter projection. That is people on the right who are being intimidated and being targeted. I was accosted walking around Washington, D.C. by one of these rioters, one of these demonstrators around the inauguration. I believe the inauguration attendance was down significantly because people feared violence. We had riots after the election for the first time in modern American history, and it's all coming from the left. 100% of the violence coming from the left. Yet the media acts as though it is the left that is something to fear. And you and I have traced the origins of this to the same place, and that's the media. Your thoughts?
Absolutely. And, CNN, I was grateful to be on Tucker yesterday because, of course, I enjoy the attention. But the people I really want to see on Fox News held to account for their crimes, and in my view, they are at this point crimes, are the people who run CNN, the people who run the New York Times, the people who run the Washington Post, who have told so many lies about people and call people such awful, atrocious, terrible names. We both have a former colleague, who is called the most appalling things, and they use the same names about me.
Yes.
And what it does is an inevitable consequence. When you call someone a Nazi, when you call someone a white supremacist, when you call somebody a racist, xenophobic bigot, when you call somebody these things, you are creating the conditions for violence, and there's no other way to put it. You are providing a ready-made excuses for vulnerable, angry, unstable activist, types to go and to commit violence against that person and people who like that person. And you are responsible for that. And the media created this climate by making it okay to lie about anyone with even remotely conservative opinions. If you are remotely conservative or even these days libertarian, if you don't sign up to the social justice agenda, if you don't agree with feminism, Black Lives Matter, all of the, if you're not a Bernie fan,
or as you put it last night,
anyone to the right of Jane Fonda.
Brilliant.
If you're anyone to the right of Jane Fonda, you can be called anything and journalists will get away with it. And when they do that and they keep doubling down on it and they keep calling you, what they're basically doing is putting a target on your back. And they're saying, at the same time as not condemning people who say go punch a Nazi and retweeting it or, with sort of mock horror just really to spread it, as these journalists all do, creating this environment where on the one hand you're saying it's fine to punch Nazis and on the other hand you're saying everyone I don't like is a Nazi. Well, what do you think's going to happen?
Yes, especially when you're throwing around words like Nazis. If we could have all gone back in time and stemmed the rising tide of the Nazis, we all would have done it. If we all had an opportunity to quash it in the room, we all quash it in the womb, we all would have taken that chance. And that is how the left is speaking of people like you and me and Steve Bannon without any evidence. And CNN and others are allowing these lies to continue. Now, Producer Paul, I'd like to play this clip of Robert Reich, Berkeley professor who Mrs. Dr. Marlowe took a class from him while she was at Berkeley.
How is Mrs. Dr. Marlowe?
She's great. mostly because she's really inspired by your fashion choices last night. She was high praise.
She has the best hair in Washington, I swear to God.
She does have great hair. That is true. And I'm sure she will love the compliment, especially at coast to coast. Everyone knows now who is if you see someone with incredible hair walking around the West End of Washington.
This is Dr. Milo.
Anyway, let's play Robert Reich, Berkeley professor. This is what he gets away with on CNN.
It absolutely does, Don. And I want to be very, very clear. I was there for part of last night, and I know what I saw. And those people were not Berkeley students. Those were outsiders, agitators. I've never seen them before. There's rumors that they actually were right-wingers. They were part of a kind of a group that were organized and ready to create the kind of tumult and danger you saw that forced the police to cancel the event. So Donald Trump, when he says Berkeley, doesn't respect free speech rights, that's a complete distortion of the truth. I mean, Berkeley opened its biggest auditorium to this right-wing Breitbart news character, this hateful, odious person, but said free speech is the most important thing we stand for. And these outsiders who caused the police to finally come in and have to cancel it.
Do you think this was a strategy by Yiannopoulos or right-wingers? They put this on so they could, in an effort to show or that, there's no free speech on a college campus like UC Berkeley?
I wouldn't bet against it, Don. I saw these people. They were they all looked almost paramilitary. They were not from the campus. I've heard, I don't want to say factually, but I've heard that there was some relationship there between these people and the right wing and the right wing movement that is affiliated with Breitbart News.
Milo, your thoughts?
This is why nobody trusts journalists in America. This is why everyone hates CNN. It's so jaw-dropping to hear people just tell outright lies like that. Yesterday I saw on Twitter somebody invented another lie, which was that, we have heard from, quote, reliable sources, end quote, that Milo was planning to specifically name some undocumented students at UC Berkeley. So they're trying to come up with explanations as to why it might have been okay to shut me down. They're trying to come up with justifications for why for what happened, and it was a total, utter fabrication. I have my speech in front of me. Pretty sure I know what I was going to say, and nope. But this guy, this stuff, the idea that they would, in effect, directly accuse us of hiring people to beat up my own audience is so sick. It's the sort of Kafkaesque
and what's the reaction from Don Lemon? Is it to cut this guy's microphone and make sure he's never back on my show? Is Jeff Zucker in this guy's ear saying, "Do not ever come back on my air again"?
No, they're egging him on.
Are they putting out a press release? Robert Reich is banned from CNN.
They teased it out of him. He followed up and said, so what you're saying is,
he wanted to continue the point,
as though he'd uncovered some glistering factor, and the guy knows he's lying. And the way that he's lying, he's like, well, I wouldn't say factually, but people have told me this, America, is a sign you are being lied to.
Yes.
This is a sign that some dissembling is going on. And this is why CNN is in the state it's in. This is why, President Daddy rightly calls it fake news and says he won't engage with it. This is why I don't give it
by definition
anymore. That is so horrifying, the extent to which they will go to legitimize the worst behavior from their own side, because they don't have the balls, they don't have the integrity, they don't have the moral integrity and character to stand up and say, you know what, we hate this guy, but what happened last night was wrong. Is that so hard?
Is it so hard? Producer Paul, let's heat up Tage's mic here. We got Tage Gill in studio, who's been running security for Milo's tour, which is easier said than done, shall we say.
Not even easily said.
He's a Navy SEAL. You've heard him on the show a few times talking about various issues with Steve Bannon back in the day. Tage, I want to get your thoughts on all this, and what kind of an environment does this create for someone like you who makes his living in security when you've got your client being called all of these horrific names, saying he's literally orchestrating a hoax so his own followers get harassed, get attacked, get bloodied, get beaten at his own events?
It creates a dangerous environment. The only thing that this guy said that's correct is that these guys were not students. The guys in the black, they're anarchists from out in town. They're the same people that shut down UC Davis. They're the same people that created chaos at University of Washington in Seattle.
And the inauguration, they had the same garb.
Exactly. They look like ISIS when they march in.
True.
They're organized, well-funded. I wouldn't say it goes as far as say well-equipped, but I was standing up top with the police when these guys marched in, and we were getting reports. The anarchists are, 4 blocks away, 3 blocks away, 2 blocks away. They've got bats, they got weapons. They actually had shields with them. About every other one had a shield. It was about 3 foot by 6 foot, covered in black trash bags. I don't know what it was made out of, but they walked into the campus, single file, like a military unit, cut straight through the crowd, about 1 row of people back behind the metal barriers, and they surrounded the building. At that time, I thought they were going to lock arms. That's a tactic they used in University of Washington, Seattle. They did the exact same thing. They just cut straight through the crowd, then they locked arms. But they didn't do that. That's when they started firing fireworks, throwing eggs, and then they started ripping apart the barriers, and then they tipped over that light stand that had a diesel generator in it, and that's what caused the fire that lit the tree on fire. And the police effectively did nothing while we were there.
Milo Yiannopoulos is in studio with us, and you've missed some hot sunglasses talk. We've been breaking down exactly who Milo is wearing today.
We have, and now you'll never know.
Yeah, now you'll never know, unless you get SiriusXM on demand, and then you can listen to it commercial free. Who Milo is wearing?
Whom are you wearing today?
When you're wearing haute couture, that's what you have to say. You have to say who, not what. We also have Tage Gill in studio. He's a former Naval SEAL, or I guess that's sort of permanent. He's a Navy SEAL, and
can you be a former? Is it like president? Are you always a Navy SEAL?
Always Navy SEAL.
Always a Navy SEAL, and he's in charge of Milo's security. You can imagine that Tage has been working overtime for the last 4 or 5 months as Milo has gone on his college tour, and we're talking about something that I noticed that is really troubling. I discussed this in the first hour, Milo, while you were snug in your bed. I was ranting.
Don't make assumptions. I've been up for hours. I just didn't necessarily want to see you for hours.
Wow. What a dig. I still got to stroke your checks, Milo, so let's be careful here.
Just kidding, boss. I was asleep until the moment I got here.
That's much better. So I was ranting about how I think the fact that there were no arrests at the violent protests at UC Berkeley that shut down speech, that prevented your event from going forward, that you really broke the heart of a lot of fans as well. Let's not underestimate that as well. People are entitled to have performers that they enjoy and go see them. It was a very unfortunate, upsetting event, and no one got arrested, which to me sends a signal that this can go on over and over, and it just is going to embolden the left. And Tage, as the security expert, what are your thoughts on that?
It just fuels the fire. The no arrest thing, hands off policy. Every time they do this and they do it successfully with no arrest, no trouble, there's no consequences. If there's no consequences, then, why stop? Each time they're going to get stronger and stronger.
So how do we deal with this? What's the recourse we have in order to try to start stemming this really rising movement of totalitarianism from the left?
It's simple. Enforce the law. That's it. Just enforce the law. When we go to the conservative campuses, the police departments there are amazing. The shows go off without a hitch. They're orderly. They give the protesters room to protest, and they give the Milo supporters room to support Milo. Then they keep everybody separated. The liberal campuses have effectively emasculated the police forces there. They've totally been politicized. They don't let them do their job. They actually have a hands-off and no arrest policy. Actually, one of the guys at Berkeley told me this.
No arrest policy?
That's correct.
It is a policy that they can't arrest anyone. Is this only for the left? If it was a right-wing event, of course there would be arrests.
Yes, of course.
Imagine if the politics had been reversed last night. If it had been Trump supporters causing a fuss outside a Lena Dunham speech. Would there be a single front page that wasn't holding it today? Would CNN be covering anything else?
Nothing else.
And it's interesting that you mentioned about the difference between the conservative and liberal campuses. Well, you've hit upon something there, which is that it doesn't need to be this way, and it's this way because of politics. And if I hadn't been on the front line of this stuff, I'd consider myself a conspiracy theorist. But I can tell you, from from the way that we have observed, my tour manager and my security teams have observed, local police departments, elected officials, and university administrators effectively colluding to sabotage these events. Deciding on policing strategies that almost guarantee the events cannot proceed or something awful will happen outside.
Absolutely.
These people are responsible for, the violence that happened outside UW Seattle. These people are responsible for the cancellation of UC Davis. These people are responsible for what happened most spectacularly in a technical sense in Berkeley, because what they're doing is insisting that the police follow procedures that almost guarantee that there will be violence and almost guarantee the event will not proceed. That is direct violation of their First Amendment commitments.
Yeah, but the mayor of Berkeley came in and defended you, right?
No. The mayor of Berkeley, of course, was fanning the flames gleefully last night, saying that we do. I know it's hard to believe.
Oh my God, I'm fanning myself.
Hard to believe.
Lest I faint on live radio.
Hard to believe that this elected official would, and of course, he made the same baseless, appalling slander of me that Nancy Pelosi recently made about Steve Bannon on Twitter, and then had to walk it back and apologize and replace it with another lie. I mean, these people just name call and virtue signal for a living. Yeah. And this guy, of course, was fanning the flames, gleefully egging this stuff on last night. And then today, of course, it's all my fault. Yeah. And then he has to be forced into this humiliating climb down by Breitbart's reporting, saying, where is your evidence for saying this person is, this hateful monster? And perhaps today it is dawning on him what he has done to his town and to that college.
Well, we're in a post-fact fake news era. Let's play this clip, Producer Paul, of Nancy Pelosi. And I really feel bad. It's been such a packed show. Producer Paul has pulled some amazing clips that I haven't gotten to today. But 5A, let's play this one. We got to play Nancy Pelosi. Go ahead.
What's making America less safe is to have a white supremacist named to the National Security Council as a permanent member, while the chairman of the Joint Chiefs and the director of national intelligence are told, don't call us, we'll call you. You're no longer permanent members. We'll call you when we need whatever judgment they make about when they want them to come back. It's a stunning thing that a white supremacist, Bannon, would be a permanent member of National Security Council and dismissing chairman of Joint Chiefs and the director of national intelligence as permanent members.
Yeah, Bannon's really got a resume of horrific racism. His assistant's black. Our London editor is a Muslim or was raised by Muslims. His business partner Breitbart was a Jew. All of Donald Trump's children are married Jews. All of Donald Trump's grandkids are Jewish. There's simply nothing in Steve Bannon's history that indicates he's treated people of other skin tones any different than people with white skin tones. Yet you're allowed to repeat these lies if you're on the left. Mm-hmm. She's not called on the carpet. She's not held accountable. There aren't going to be rallies outside of her offices saying that she lies about decent human beings who are simply patriotic.
This is why Trump is president in the first place. This is why the guy's in the White House, because people are so sick of it happening to them and seeing it happen to others. And the fact that the left is doubling down on this, the media and the Democrats are doubling down on strategies that have failed. And they're still doing it, and they won't stop doing it. They do it to me. They do it to Steve Bannon. They do it they're still doing it to Trump. This is why the guy's in the White House. Because you lied and lied and lied. Because you lied to people and you lied about people. You bullied them while telling them they were the bullies. You lied about people while telling them they were the liars. You were prejudiced and bigoted against people, the straight white males of social justice folklore, while telling them that you were the oppressors while telling them that they were. It's this Kafkaesque, alternative reality that left-wingers in America inhabit, which is so alien and so bizarre to me as a European, coming over here to see this identity politics obsessed, this country that is obsessed with skin color, sexuality, and gender.
Yes.
We just don't have it in Europe. And when you put logic, reason, and facts aside and replace them with identity politics, you enter the realm of fantasy and lunacy. It's an alternative dimension where left and right no longer apply, and you get yourselves into these positions where you can argue yourself into a position where it's okay to say anything about anyone and justify it somehow because there's some great social justice mission at stake. The idea that Nancy Pelosi could, out of nowhere, on the basis of no evidence, call somebody, call a former naval officer officer on the basis of no evidence whatsoever other than the fact that he's effective. And this is what they really hate. They hate me for the same reason, because I'm effective, because I'm dangerous to them. On the basis of no evidence whatsoever, call them a white supremacist. About the worst thing you could say about somebody, because the race stuff in America really clings to you. It's like a bad smell. It follows you around through life, even if there's no truth to it. And so it's about the worst thing you could say. You call somebody a sexist, I mean, who cares? You call somebody a racist, it's bad enough. You call somebody a white supremacist, that will never leave them. It's part of their reputation forever, no matter how justified it was. And in most cases, it's not justified at all. It is so utterly unacceptable and so completely base and slimy, and deplorable, if you like, to behave in that way. And America has seen it. That's why the guys in the White House, why don't they get that?
And to bring the conversation full circle, it arguably justifies violence. If someone is a legitimate white supremacist in the White House, and he's got people who are former associates, fellow travelers, if you will, traveling around to college campuses and trying to convert younger people to his value set, then this is how you would get a climate where these riots take place and no one gets arrested. It is arguably a justification for violence. Now, I do think that there is a silver lining, and here is the silver lining. I think it's emboldening the Trump supporters. I think it's making Trump's message more resonant. And I'll tell you, Donald Trump said something that was a buried lead at the prayer breakfast, the national prayer breakfast yesterday. Producer Paul, please play clip 1F. I think Milo's going to get a kick out of this.
I don't think I've heard this.
Today we continue a tradition begun by President Eisenhower some 64 years ago. This gathering is a testament to the power of faith and is one of the great customs of our nation. And I hope to be here 7 more times with you.
7 more times. Trump sending a signal. I am here to stay. And it was the sort of thing where even I thought there was a possibility he might only be a one-term president, but he's throwing down. He's going for 2 terms. He's emboldened by all this.
Well, if
he's emboldened by the hate.
Then sure, he will be in again.
So we got Milo here, and Milo, I wanted you. We could go on all day. You're always interesting on a variety of topics. I wish we had more time so we could get into that.
I'm actually interesting on every subject,
every single one. Yeah. We get into some hot hairstyling tips.
Did you like it today? I did keep meaning to ask.
You're in the zone. You're in the zone.
You like my new highlights, right?
I
great.
do. Yeah,
I've gone sort of honey, caramel. Fudge colors.
Yeah, it's not really. I was going to say they're frosted tips, but it's not really a frosting.
No, they're not really. They're more like lowlights. But I went for something really multi-tonal because
it's much more buttercream than frost.
It is. It's kind of like late 90s, early 2000s Mariah. It's very fetching. I'm liking it at the moment.
I thought the exact same thing. You took the words right out of my mouth. With that, so Milo, your book Dangerous right now, #1.
I have Amazon. A book out.
Yes. Well, it's coming out shortly. It will be. I'd be shocked if there was a more highly anticipated book that comes out in 2017.
Oh, it's the book of the year for sure.
Yeah, and give us a little taste, Milo.
Well, people will know me from mischievous, irreverent campus appearances on YouTube where I use incredibly foul language and tell all sorts of awful jokes about everyone. And people also know me from very well-researched and fact-based, but also similarly kind of entertaining and waspish, gossipy columns on Breitbart, which have been so popular over the last 1.5 to 2 years. This book is something that incorporates all of that, but is also a little different. This book is something really with a strong intellectual backbone. It's something very substantial. It is my statement of affairs, my manifesto. It's my, here is what was wrong with you, America, and here's how to fix it. And, taking people through the journey of as a European, discovering America, coming to this country, imagining that it was going to be this haven of free speech and free expression, finding out that in fact, in the one place where America should shine as, a place of intellectual discovery and discourse, that it is in fact more stifling even than my home Europe.
It's amazing you say that because I was listening to an interview with Phelan McAleer and Ann McElhenney, who have a book also really high on Amazon right now, their Gosnell book, and they're immigrants from Ireland and Northern Ireland, respectively. Berkeley, and they said exactly what you said, is they came to America thinking of it as this bastion of freedom, and they realized it wasn't all that free. There's all these problems. They got here right in 2008, right at the dawn of the Obama era, and it was, they have been fighting as activists to try to reclaim the America that they thought they were going to get, not the America that the left has turned this country into.
Right. Well, that's exactly my journey too. And, I've become, I think, the most a singular figure, let's say, in the free speech movement in America. I've become somebody that young libertarians and even disaffected liberals are flocking to, because I seem to be the only person who will stand up and give the left back a little taste of their own medicine. Conservatives have been, and this is what I mean by saying the book is more substantial and more serious. If you go to it just looking for fat jokes, you're going to be disappointed, because it's actually a really substantial, meaty book. But
there'll be a few fat jokes, though.
There'll be a few fat jokes.
Okay, go.
Of course. But
now we're back.
But the thing about it is, the left has lied to and lied about conservatives and bullied and demeaned and victimized, libertarians, conservatives, straight white males, you name it. All these various groups they don't like for decades, and they've done it unopposed, and they've done it without consequence. They've been able to be vindictive and spiteful and mean and sociopathic about innocent, decent people for a really, really long time. And conservatives in America have tended to take the Christian, charitable, turn the other cheek approach to this. They have tended to say, let's rise above it, let's be better men. Well, I'm not a better man. I'm just, I'm perfectly happy to get down and fight in the gutter. I'm perfectly happy to get down in the trenches with a knife and fight them back using their own tactics. And they don't like it very much. They really don't like having a taste of their own medicine. And my view of this is, if you have as a sort of institutional left, academia, the media, politicians, the news business, whatever, the entertainment industry in particular, if you have routinely, systematically, without consequence, demeaned and victimized, these groups for decades, you can have a little taste of your own medicine once in a while, just to remind you what it was like 30 years ago when people were doing it, in the other direction. And if the worst they have to deal with, if the worst they have to consider, the worst they have to deal with on college campuses, and the worst they have to review in their hallowed journal pages, is a book by a contrarian, gay Brit who likes to make fat jokes and point out that actually, yes, most feminists are ugly and Black Lives Matter activists are, petulant and pointless. They can cope with that. They can take it, because what they've been dishing out for the last 30 years to you guys has been absolutely appalling. And frankly, I think I'm, as serious and as highbrow as I hope the book, as I know the book is in parts, there are also parts of it that are just, you can take some medicine too. And let me just demonstrate what you have been doing to other people for the last 30 years and suggest to you that maybe you should stop it.
Yeah, and this is just such a key point, and I've just been reflecting on what needs to be done to take back the campuses. And you rightly point out that these people dish it out constantly on the taxpayer dime, and they can't take it for 1 second.
No.
And you're
not one speaker one day of the year.
And you're determined to take back some integrity into some of these institutions, Milo, and we're grateful that you're doing it. The book is dangerous. That was, of course, Milo Yiannopoulos, senior editor for Breitbart News. Pay close attention to the news today. Milo will be back in the news for another reason. You Milo fans, is we've got something up our sleeves that you guys are going to freak out when you see it. So pay very close attention. Thanks a lot for joining me on Breitbart News Daily, Milo.
Thank you very much.